Hey guys, welcome back. We have another, quick glimpse tutorial for you guys today. Kind of a quick and dirty tip on how to use Alteryx. I'm going to base today's lesson on data that I got online regarding Tour de France. For those that don't know what Tour de France is, it's a major competition that's based in primarily in France and its neighboring countries, and it's a cycling sport. So it's all the professional cyclers, the best of the best, the cream of the crop, are all going to be competing in Tour de France every year, and they're all in a team environment. There's different ways that they get assessed and get scored, but more so, it's going to be a team, and the team usually is propelling the best cyclist to hopefully represent them on the podium at the very end of the numerous stages. 2023, there was 21 stages, and the winner at the end of those stages, the winner with the cumulative smallest collection of time spent in the stages gets crowned the overall winner and wears the yellow jersey. So that is my really crappy way of telling you what the Tour de France is. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna switch over to the Alteryx canvas. You should be able to see an already existing workflow there. I was able to download some GPX formatted files online that gave me plotted coordinates along every route and every stage of the 2023 competition. So one thing about Tableau, because ultimately at the very end, I want to be able to plot this and create some views in Tableau. I'm using Tableau Public, and it doesn't accept GPX formatted files, so I'm going to convert them to text. I was able to locate an online converter, convert all these GPX downloaded files to text, and then now what I'm showing you here on the canvas in the green input data tools, which are highlighted, that I highlighted for you. Those are the text files, which is basically the output of the converted GPX file um, that I got converted to text. Okay, so first things first, you see this first container. I have a title there for you: converted text output query and union to one data set. So basically, I am taking all the converted outputs of the GPX files to text, and I'm unioning them into one total data set. Okay, so you see that by the names of the input data, Tour de France stages 1 to 10, 11 to 20, and then 21. So real quick, if we go to the configuration side on the left side, you can see, let's highlight one of them. You can see the quick glimpse. There's a type, latitude, longitude, attitude, name, the description. All we're really worried about is the latitude or longitude. These are the plots along the route of each stage. I'm gonna keep the altitude and the name because this name right here, it's only stating what the stage is for those plotted coordinates on its very first row of every kind of file once gets converted into text. I'm gonna use this and do a combination of a multi-row formula to make sure I have the accurate label for each one of these rows that has coordinates. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. Got the union, you see right there with the purple icon. I specified the output order, so I specified that I want to do 1, I want to do 2, I want to do 3. So basically, Tour de France stages 1 to 10 are on top. After that is 11 to 20, and then right on the bottom is 21. Then I'm moving forward in the workflow using the record ID icon. I'm doing a simple uh, count or a record ID of each row. And then now I have a data set. If I open up the results pane a little bit larger, you can see that I'm actually doing the count all the way through. And now it's time to do some data prep. So let's go here to this pinkish container. It's basically a comment I created. I did a comment box, did a background of pink, and then I made sure that these icons were brought to the front, and basically just kind of, you know, having them in their own little group. So I add some description here, some data cleanup, sorting, renumbering of record idea after exclusion of noisy rows. Okay, so what I mean by noisy rows is after I did the conversion from the GPX to the text files, every stage on its very first row has a value right here. I'm going to highlight this column for the stage that I'm hovering over. And it's only on the first row that it tells you what the stage is, right? But since we have it in order, I'm going to eliminate all the ones that where the name does not equal name. So notice how these are basically just the headers from the individual stage files once they got converted and combined into one data set via the converter. So I'm just eliminating that. That's noise. I'm not going to use it. I already have the headers that Alteryx has read on the very top. Okay, I'm going to sort it by what's left over on the record ID numbers, ascending. On the select tool, I'm going to exclude the original record ID column I created and create a new one. Why am I creating a new one? I'm creating a new one because remember we got rid of all that noise, which eliminated some numbers, right? So we want to renumber it, which I did. Okay, simple. All right, cool. All right, green box, use of multi-row formula and formula icon to create stage numbers, and usage of the spatial formula, st create point, off of the original longitude and latitude coordinates for each row. All right, so basically what I want to do here is I want to be able to have a stage number for every row, and I also want to utilize the existing coordinates of the longitude and latitude to create a spatial point. I'm going to use that spatial point later down the road in the workflow to calculate the distance from one point to another. Okay, first things first, multi-row formula. Let's go right here to the configuration space. I'm going to create a new field called multi-row result. And then basically I'm just saying the output would be right here. So the output of this expression that I have right here ends up here. So let's look at the first row, right? If the name is null, then do this. If it's not, do this, right? So is it null? No, there's a value. So then do the else operator. Else name. There's my name. Carries over there, right? All right, simple as that. Next row. If the name dimension is null, which it is, then do row minus one of the multi-row result. Then basically get the value of the same dimension we're on of the previous row. So simple as that. It's going down the row, checking name to make sure it's null. If it's not null, I'm going to get the value on that dimension name. Okay. Next thing is a formula tool. We're creating two columns. One's called stage number string. Basically, all I'm doing here, it's a combination of the left function and the find string function. I'm basically finding the character number where this target, the dash PARCOURS is found, and then I'm getting everything to the left of that. So notice how the stage number string, you now have the stage -1, but without the extraneous characters on the original multi-row result dimension. Same kind of variation of the calculation for stage number integer. This time I'm using the right function, the to number, because I'm converting the character to a number. And I'm still finding, but this time I'm finding the dash. So I'm basically saying give me everything from, find the dash and give me everything to the right. And there's my number because I've converted it to a number using the to number formula, which converts from a character to a number. Then I have my data type there as integer 16. I have another multi-row formula here. And basically what I'm doing there is I am doing I'm doing a row count. So I'm basically saying create a field called row count, and I'm calling it. I'm basically grouping it by stage number, and all that's doing with the expression row -1 row count +1. It's basically saying on each stage do a count. Take the number from the previous row, add 1. And if the stage group changes, like say from stage 1 to stage 2, start the count over. That's all it's doing. Then I'm doing a sort on that newly created record ID, which we had previously created here on the end of the pink box. Now, formula icon, we have that spatial st create point. All that's basically doing is grouping the spatial longitude and latitude and creating a spatial object, which is basically a point. So you can see here, it's not going to actually show you the point, but it knows what the point is. If you click on that, a map actually pops up on the configuration side and lets you know where in the map that is. But we're going to use that in the future in this workflow. Okay, so now let's go to this lighter green box. It says in order to use a distance icon, which is this icon right here, the distance, which is kind of like two rulers. It's located in the spatial collection of Alteryx icons. I create a left join to calculate the distance between points. A slight adjustment to the row number count on a destination temporary dataset. So basically what I'm doing here is using the row count to do a left join. So a row count on the original dataset, and then on the row count before I join it, I'm adding 1 because I want to get the distance between one point to the very next point. And if I do that correctly, once I do all my data manipulation, I should be able to aggregate all the distances between all the sequential points and get the total distance for each stage. Okay, notice how on the select tool, I'm only bringing in the record ID, the latitude, longitude, stage numbers, the row count, and the very important point. I renamed that as point A. I'm bringing in the same columns on the right side. So this is basically all off the same data set. This is going into one kind of connection as the left table, and then this is going off to the right as the right connection. Although I'm pulling in the same columns, but I'm using a formula tool to go to the row count and basically subtract 1. Okay, because eventually what I want to do is I want to get the I want to eventually, if we're looking at row 2, I want row 2 on the left table to join to row 1. So then I'm able to calculate based on the stage the difference in distance from one point to the very next point. That's all I'm doing. So notice how on the join criteria, I'm doing a join by stage number, the string one, the integer one I created, and the row count, and the row count adjusted, which we created here in this formula icon. Then what I'm actually pulling in is just what is basically just what actually matched. I'm not worrying about the left or the right. I'm actually pulling in what comes out of that J node. Okay. Then I'm doing a sort off of the row count right there. On the select, I'm bringing in point A and point B. Then on the distance icon, the spatial object icon, I have to notate which ones we're doing. So give me the points. So point A, point B. Output the distance. Return a distance if of 0 if when a point's inside the polygon, if it's really close. And then I added output the direction as well. So when I do that, notice how I'm going to scroll to the right. I've now created distance in miles between points. Okay. Now, see this line right here is connection? That's grabbing the original right here. And now I'm going to join it to our created kind of connection here with the distances that were calculated. I'm doing a join on the following criteria. Stage number, row count, and the right row count. Okay? So basically, I am joining together my outputted distances that I got from the original join, and now I'm joining it to the original data set. So now in this situation, I do want the left node and the J node. So whatever matched, but also what didn't match. And there are some that didn't match. Why? Because let's say, for instance, the stage 1 coordinate 1, right? There's nothing before that to calculate the distance. So that's going to turn out to be null. We're going to do some data cleanup to clean up all that and put zeros and whatnot, right? So we're going to join the L and the J. We union that. And then just to talk a little bit about this blue box, it says join the distance calcs to the original data set, some cleanup of null values. For example, row 1 of stage 1 has no elapsed distance from that point, so distance would be 0. And join distances which start at point 2 of each stage. Select tool. I am going to select all those. I'm going to sort. All right. Distance miles. This is the output, the column that was outputted by the distance function. I say if null, if the distance miles is null, then I want to put a 0 there. Else, give me the distance miles. That's the cleanup. We're just cleaning up the nulls with an if statement. Okay. Multi-row formula here. I'm updating the direction. I'm basically saying if the direction is null, then get the direction from the previous one. Else, give me the direction. So there's a few kind of cleanups we needed to do there just because some of the points were extremely too close to calculate the distance, and where I'm just taking the immediate kind of cardinal direction that was in the previous coordinate sequentially. Notice that we now have our record ID, type, latitude, longitude, altitude, the original stage name, and then we have our kind of our finished product. We have the stage number integer, the original row count by stage, the points, the distance mile, and the direction. And then basically what I did here was I just outputted that to an Excel file. And then here I did some QA. I want to show you the QA just so that you can kind of add this to your business practices, your best practices, to make sure that after you do a workflow on your canvas, you always want to double check that you didn't duplicate any data, that you didn't mess anything up, that the row count is not tampered with. So all I did here was did a summarization by stage, and I summed up all the distance miles. So notice how if I go to the output once it's sorted, stage 1, 113 miles, stage 2, 130 miles. And I double checked this with the Tour de France website. They all kind of check out to be at the mile marker. So I'm pretty happy with the output that we have here. And then I also looked at the row count as well. So basically, let me see. So I came here and did another summary of the record count, a summary of the original record count. I basically appended them together and did a calculation to a diff to see if any of them are different, and I have a difference of 0. So pretty happy with what we got. The row count after the manipulation and the workflow doesn't change, and the distances after the distances were calculated from the coordinates seem to check out as well. Okay, real quick, just to show you what I'm trying to get at with all the different points, the distances. I have a Tableau instance opened. Uh, I'm gonna bring in that data set really quick. So now the viewer kind of looks at the sheet one of the Excel document. There are my dimensions. If I go to sheet one, real quick, I'm going to create a quick point using the make point calculation. So let me go real quick. Call this point make point. And drop the point into the sheet. Notice how you can now see a bunch of lines. Eventually, it'll show France as Tableau's thinking on my computer. There we go. I'm going to real quick change the options to get a dark map. Now these are all the stages, right? Because we have them grouped by stages. So now what I can do is I can apply the row count. If I go here, I'm going to apply it as an attribute. Let's see. I think that should work. Or dimension. There we go. There's my dimension. If I go to edit colors, reverse it, apply. I'm going to edit it to make it really, really bright. Red, bright. Now I can see, obviously in this stage, green all the way to red. This is the route, and this is how long it is, and we start here, we end there. Obviously, you want to tweak it some more. Make sure that that is to your liking. There's lots of stuff I would do here, but all in all, pretty cool. I like it. I like how I use Alteryx to create all the different uh, calculations and distances, and then now we can plot it on Tableau. I hope you enjoyed this tip. Thanks. Take care.